Howdy! Welcome to Aspire Mountain Academy. I'm Professor Curtis, your instructor for this course in Introductory Statistics. In less than 10 minutes, this video further examines the test statistic and shows how it relates to the p-value. Let's get started. So essentially what we're doing when we're running our hypothesis test is we're comparing two different values to each other. And one of the values that we can compare is the test statistic. Now, if you remember from a previous mini lecture, we said that we're looking at the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis, and we're going to come to one of two conclusions. We're either going to reject the null hypothesis, or we're going to fail to reject the null hypothesis. So, depending upon if we're going to use our test statistic, whether or not that test statistic is inside the critical region or outside the critical region, then that's going to tell us how to conclude our hypothesis test. The critical region is simply the region in the tail that's bounded by the critical value. So this becomes a region of rejection. So when we fall inside the region of rejection, we're going to reject the null hypothesis. Otherwise, if we're outside the region of rejection, we're going to fail to reject the null hypothesis. So this is the standard that we can use. Okay, we're going to use a critical value, or we can also use a p-value, as I'll explain in a moment. So the value of whichever of these standards we use is going to depend upon, whether our alternative hypothesis reflects, a critical region or a region of rejection that's in the left tail, the right tail, or both tails of our distribution. If it's a left-tailed test, then the left-tailed hypothesis test is going to have a critical region on the left, and the alternative hypothesis will use the less than sign. If we have a right-tailed test, then the right-tailed hypothesis test is going to have a critical region on the right, and our alternative hypothesis will use the greater than sign. If we have a two-tailed test, then our alternative hypothesis will use the not equal to sign. So keep this in mind, because this is going to become really important when we're making the conclusion from our hypothesis test. That inequality sign is like an arrow pointing to the direction of the tail of your distribution that holds the critical region, which is the region of rejection. And of course, if you have the not equal to sign, then there is no arrow, because you've got both sides of your distribution. They form the area that is the region of rejection, or the critical region. Now this relates to the p-value, which we've seen before when looking at confidence intervals. So by definition, the p-value is the probability that the test statistic is at least as extreme as the one representing the sample data, assuming that the null hypothesis is true. In essence, the p-value, in more practical terms, is simply the area in the tail of your distribution that's bounded by the test statistic. So because it's an area under the curve, it's going to be a probability, okay? And so for a left-tail distribution, the p-value is going to be the area to the left of the test statistic. For a right-tailed hypothesis test, the p-value is going to be the area to the right of the test statistic. And for a two-tailed test, the p-value is going to be twice the area in each tail, because the area has been split into two parts. Okay, and if you're dealing with, say, a normal distribution or a student t distribution, these are symmetrical distributions, and so half of the p-value will be in the tail on the left and half will be in the tail on the right. So if we have a distribution, that area in that tail of the distribution is our p-value, and the boundary for that area is the test statistic. So this is the relationship between the p-value and the test statistic. The p-value is the area in the tail of the distribution bounded by the test statistic. Let's look at an example problem. We looked previously at this claim, 20% of adults smoke. A recent Gallup survey of 1,016 randomly selected adults showed that 21% of respondents smoke. The question we're asked is for the value of the test statistic. Well, first we go to our null and alternative hypothesis. So the null hypothesis, a statement of equality, The alternative hypothesis typically reflects the claim, but here, because the claim has a semblance of equality to it, we have to take the complement of the claim as our alternative hypothesis. Then in StatCrunch, we can go to proportion stats, because we're dealing with proportions, one sample, because we have just the one sample, with summary, because we don't have any actual data, just summary stats. So in our options window, notice we're going to put in the number of successes and then the total number of observations. Here, success is defined as being a smoker, because that's how the claim is set up. So the claim is that 20% of adults are smoking, so then being a smoker represents the success. I think that's backwards, because we all know what, health problems come from smoking. But hey, that's how the problem is set up, so that's how we work it. And then you've got the total number of observations. That's the total in the survey, the 1,016. Again, we're going to leave this radio button default on the hypothesis test. Make sure these fields represent the null and alternative hypothesis that we constructed earlier. Then once I have that information in, I just go ahead and hit compute. Oh, yes, the 214, that number comes from the fact that we've got 21% times the 1,016. So you can't put the proportions in StatCrunch. You have to give it an actual number. So in this case, you have to calculate it. But that's an easy enough thing to do. Press compute when you're done, and out comes your results. And of course, the test statistic is always the next to last value there in your results window table. Let's look at another example. Here we've got statistics with pulse rate. So the claim is that the mean pulse rate of adult females, 76 beats per minute or lower. For a random sample of 40 adult females, mean pulse rate is 77.5 beats per minute, with a sample standard deviation of 2.1 beats per minute and a population standard deviation of 2.5 beats per minute. What is the value of the test statistic? Well, again, we're going to start by looking at our null and alternative hypotheses. So the null hypothesis, always a statement of equality, and the alternative hypothesis is just going to represent the claim, since the claim has no semblance of equality in it. So we can just take the claim and make that our alternative hypothesis. Then we go to StatCrunch. We're going to go to Z-stats, because we do know what the population standard deviation is. So we want a Z-score. One sample, because we have just the one sample, with summary, because we don't have any actual data. So we're just going to use the summary. The stats given there in the problem statement. So in our options window, we put in the summary stats, leave that radio button in the default for hypothesis test, make sure those fields match our null and alternative hypotheses, and then we just go ahead and we can press compute, and then out comes our results window with a neat little table, and that second to last number is always going to be our test statistic. And it's really no more complicated than that. That brings us to the end of this mini lecture. I hope you found it helpful. You can find more mini lectures for this and other courses at AspireMountainAcademy.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.